With the newest installment in the Call of Duty franchise, Black Ops 6, just looming over the horizon, I'd like to dive into the past of the developer of the game, Treyarch Corporation. Now, they've become well known for the Black Ops series totaling 6 games, but I'd like to talk about their roots in the franchise with Call of Duty 3. Now, this isn't their first go at the series with having made the Call of Duty 2 side story, Big Red One, but it's the first game that they made that really had its own identity. So, getting into it, why exactly is it the most forgotten? Well, we have a few reasons to go over. First off, it seems the third installment of any series seems to be the least liked a majority of the time. Usually the first is, first. If you ain't first, you last. And the second entry usually fine-tunes the first and answers a lot of those open-ended questions along with improving the overall feel and fluidity of the gameplay from the first. In this case, the second Call of Duty is considered one of the greatest Call of Duties. So that's a lot to live up to. Not to mention there was a switch in developer from Infinity Ward, and this extra time for Infinity Ward allowed them to then create the fourth Call of Duty Modern Warfare, which became a trilogy and then got rebooted into a new trilogy. Not nearly as good as the first, but they're still making money. And lastly, this one is unique because it is the only Call of Duty to not get a PC release. I know, right? It's weird. So anyway, onto the main goods. I'm only going to cover the campaign as I performed the updates that popped up for multiplayer, but kept on getting this error saying authentication failed when just trying to get to the find a match screen. I'm sure I wouldn't have been able to find a match either way. I've heard the 360 version is still alive and well though. Let me know if you've been able to get onto that one. So I'm quite the fan of this one's campaign. It just took a bit for it to sink in, but after a couple of levels, I really got the hang of it and was really feeling it. It's a much longer and slower paced campaign than what you get from the recent Call of Duty campaigns, which can be a hit or miss, though that's really because multiplayers become the main focus, so it makes sense. Just know if you want to give this campaign a go, it's going to take some patience before it starts to click with you. But know that the slower pace is a good thing. It makes it feel more realistic, especially as you up the difficulty. I feel the hardened difficulty was the perfect balance. It forces you to play in a manner that feels strategic, as if you are really boots on the ground in combat fighting in a war. And adding to the realism, I love how they included some interviews with actual veterans from World War II, and they are incredibly interesting to hear, especially the American. I highly recommend if you buy this game and play it, definitely watch those interviews and really gives you some perspective on playing a game versus real life. The sound effects are solid as well to really help nail it all together with the gunshots, the explosions, the performances by the voice actors are good, with some chuckles being had here and there, as well as some more serious moments where your leader at one point is having trouble speaking from the trauma of what is going on. But for the most part, it's very playful banter being had. They nailed the more serious tone in their next installment with World at War, which makes sense because that one was rated M and this one is only rated T. I also would like to point out that the epic title screen theme gives off a very heroic vibe that sits well with being a World War II story. Now the visuals. Not much to say here, there's nothing to write home about, being that this is the first time coming to an HD console, as well as being a cross-release with last gen's PS2 and Xbox. They aren't bad though. But just know that if you play the 360 version, you're going to get a little bit better performance over the PS3 version. The PS3 sits around 30 frames per second with a lot of slowdown issues occasionally. They're fairly frequent, but not terrible, not unplayable for sure. Now for the most important part in a shooter, the gunplay. The guns are pretty much what you expect from a World War II game. You have different character nationalities that you play as with British, American, French, Canadian, and their respective guns from those countries. I'll draw comparisons to the 2008 release in World at War, as these are basically like mock-up versions of what you find in World at War, with most of the models and animations being the same without the sprucing up that they got from what I consider to be their younger but bigger brother. World at War is basically Call of Duty 3's younger but much larger brother. It all feels fine. The variety isn't quite as large as the later Call of Duties, but that's because they are going for historical accuracy. They all feel good with no complaints from me. I really like using the M1 Garand and the sniper rifles. The really nice one-shot kills are satisfying here. Aim assist is fantastic as well. It's very useful in this game. And those submachine guns like the Thompson or the Sten are great for those close quarter battles inside of the various houses and basements you'll find yourself in. Just be careful of the enemy, because when they have a machine gun, they'll laser the hell out of you if you try to go running into those buildings too quick. Now, there's also the occasional quick time event with motion controls that are pretty meh. You'll find yourself wrestling with the crowd all of a sudden, and you have to kind of just swing the controller around like wildly to get them off of you. There are some vehicle segments as well where you're driving a car that you can use the controller like a steering wheel, which I do not recommend because it doesn't work too well. It can be fun though. Otherwise, you'll use motion controls to do some other things like plant a bomb or run a crane. Now, you may notice some lacking features like shooting through walls being absent here, which is a pretty useful mechanic that most have probably gotten used to at this point, but you just can't do it in this game, though you can still get collateral. It wouldn't be till the next Call of Duty that these are implemented. Enemy AI it's alright. Feels like it's always is with shooters. Either they completely miss or they laser you. Like I said, be careful with those submachine gunners in this one. But as long as you go slow, it's really not bad and it feels very realistic. I really like that. Now, there's no collectibles either, which is kind of lame. I always like getting the intel as you go throughout the levels, but no big deal. Once you get used to the slower pace, you really get into the flow of things. For instance, you can't sprint, which is just such a weird thing. Instead, the left bumper actually pulls out binoculars, which aren't incredibly useful. There's only a few times where you're forced to use them to mark artillery shots, but other than that, that's about it. Now for the big question, should you get this one over Call of Duty Black Ops 6? Probably not, but I'd like to talk about it nonetheless. I'll say I really liked going back to this Call of Duty 3. It's something that I just didn't even realize was on the PlayStation 3 till like I just saw it randomly at a game store and I was like, huh. And then later I looked into it and I was like, hey, you know what, I want to give that one a try rather than, playing Black Ops 6, which, I would like to buy it, but I feel like Black Ops 6 is no different than the past 5 Black Ops, so, which isn't true, but you know what I mean. So yeah, let me know your thoughts on Call of Duty 3. Have you played it before? Did you ever play the online? What did you think of the campaign? Are you going to get the new Black Ops 6? If you are, why exactly? Are you mostly buying it for the multiplayer? I'm sure you are. I kind of want to check out the campaign as Black Ops has done pretty well with their campaigns over the years, so let me know your thoughts. Hit me with a like and subscribe if you liked the video, and I'll talk to you next time. Jumping in here at the last minute, if you made it all the way to the end of the video, thank you very much. I just want to add in that this video was made mostly before Black Ops 6 came out, and now that I've played Black Ops 6, I can say that the campaign of Black Ops 6 is awesome and that you should go grab it if you haven't already. It has a lot of good callbacks, and it's very different from the other Call of Duties in that it has like some puzzly elements, more story focused. It's really awesome. Just go buy it. Anyway, thanks for watching again, and talk to you next time.